Well, welcome everybody. My name is Chris. I'm an advisor in the Office of Academic Advising. This is another one of our U Oregon Success Series events. Today's topic is Exploring 101, how to explore major options and find the right fit for you. We've got a guest here, Beretta Pegram-Floyd from Tyson College and Career Advising. She's going to provide tips and strategies for us in a presentation with an opportunity to have a Q&A and discuss some resources available to support your exploration process. One note before we get started, we are recording today's event, but the format will not include any of your information on there. We have the audio and video for participants turned off at this time so that the recording only captures the presentation and Beretta and myself. If you have any questions, though, throughout the event, you're welcome to submit questions to Beretta or myself. You can do so in the chat, or you can also send Microsoft Teams messages to our colleague Ellen Baldwin at ebaldwin@uoregon.edu. But, that's enough from me. I'm going to hand it over to Beretta to walk us through some tips for exploring.
Yes, good afternoon and happy Friday. And so just so folks know, I call Friday Sexy Beast because I'm so happy to see it coming. And so again, we are talking about Exploring 101. And so my name is Beretta Pegram-Floyd, and I'm an academic and career coordinator and also the flight path coordinator for both the Media Arts and Expression, which is some of our humanities-based majors, as well as the Public Policy, Society, and Identity flight paths within Tyson College and Career Advising. So welcome and happy Friday again. So to really kick us off, I think it's really important to define what it means to be an exploring student. And so exploring really simply means that you are taking your time to explore, investigate, research your academic options as it pertains to major, potential minor, potential certificate declaration. And so one of the things that is really important for you to know and be aware of as an exploring student is that, let me expand this, hold on one second. Exploring is the top major, because it's not an actual major, classification for students entering into UO. So if you are declared as an exploring student and you are figuring out what you want to do, you are not alone in that respect. So I want to share with you all some common concerns of exploring students that has been reflected in both the research literature and what advisors across campus have heard from students. So one, I'm concerned that I won't graduate in 4 years and or on time if I don't know what I'm going to major in. Two, I have too many interests. I have a lot of things that I see myself doing, and I don't know what I'm most interested in. I'll waste time and or money trying to figure this out. And then next, my major will determine my career path, and I don't know what I want to do in the future. So let's tackle concern number one. Let's start there. I won't graduate in 4 years and or on time if I am an exploring student. So, University of Oregon is a liberal arts institution. And as part of the liberal arts, you have what's called general ed or core education, as we call it at the University of Oregon. And so what core education does is it provides a common university experience for all students, regardless of if they have a declared major or if they are, like some of you may be, exploring. So to look at the core education, we have kind of 4 components of that education. We have what's called the cultural literacy requirement, focused on the US or the global perspectives. And this requirement seeks to engage with students regarding matters of indifference and intolerance. We also have a requirement that is attached to your degree type. And so the 2 most common degree types at the University of Oregon are either a Bachelor of Arts, which comes with 2 years of college level second language completion, or a Bachelor of Science, which comes with math and or computer science completion. We have the areas of inquiry, and that's broken down into humanities, social sciences, and the natural sciences disciplines. And so within the areas of inquiry, students do need to complete a minimum of 15 credits or 4 classes within each of the areas. And then lastly, we have the university writing requirement. So writing 121 and then writing 122 or 123. And the core education requirements afford you the opportunity to explore courses across various disciplines while still moving along with university requirements. And so this will be mixed in with as part of your major exploration. And concern number 2, I won't be able to narrow down my interest and I'll waste time and money figuring out my major. In reality, according to the US Department of Education, 33% of students who go into college with a major declared will change their major 1 or more times. And I will say, as an advisor that has been an advisor for 6 or more years, I've definitely seen this. And I have seen this with students who are actually almost on their way out the door. So in some ways, for you to be exploring and coming in saying, I actually am not clear on what I want to do, or I'm not going to commit to this just yet, this helps to ensure that you still can graduate within 4 years, and you're being mindful of the various resources that are available to you. And so one of the things that you can do to start the exploration process is to continuously engage with academic advising. And academic advising exists in multiple units and within the professional schools and colleges at the University of Oregon. And what we do holistically is that we support you in making meaning of your life experiences, your strengths and interests, individual, family, and cultural values, while considering the wide array of educational options that are available to you. One of the things that we did to help our students with this exploring process is we reorganized our advising, and we mapped all of our majors to what's called a flight path, AKA in some respects, a meta major. And so flight paths are 6 thematic categories that serve as a framework to help you explore academic disciplines, choose a major, and begin to define a career path. And the flight paths, if nothing else, if you don't have anything else figured out, the flight paths can serve as a starting point to help you better align your passions and interests with academic courses of study. And so as you can see below on this particular screen, there are 6 flight paths around different disciplines. So we have healthy communities. So this is majors like biology, for example. Hopefully that is in the correct flight path. Psychology, I'll use psychology because I know for sure that is in the correct flight path. We also have scientific discovery and sustainability. So think about like environmental studies, for example. Media arts and expression. So these are more humanities focused. So English, cinema studies, etc. Global connections. We have industry, entrepreneurship, and innovation. And so this is econ and spatial and data science. And then lastly, public policy, society, and identity. So many of our social science-based majors. And so when you're using the flight paths to kind of explore, you can see, for example, with global connections, one of the majors and departments that we serve within the global connections community is the global, I'm blanking on the major, I'm sorry. So it's Global 101, Introduction to International Issues. And so this is a class that actually works for the Global Studies major, and it meets a core education requirement in the social science area of inquiry, which is part of the core education curriculum, as well as meeting the global perspectives cultural literacy requirements. So this class does what's called a double dip and meets more than one requirement. And then we also have scientific discovery and sustainability. And so using, again, this particular flight path as an example, you have chemistry 221, which is general chemistry, and that meets a science area of inquiry. So there's a way, and this is a very low risk way to connect your core education with exploring within the context of the flight path. And then, as I mentioned before, there's multiple advising units on campus. For the unit that I work out of, it's called Tyson College and Career Advising. We do academic and career advising, but there are other advising units that also have advising components and some career components as well. So the different advising units on campus, thinking about the ones that are in my division, which are under the Division of Undergraduate Education and Student Success, are Tyson College and Career Advising, the Office of Academic Advising, or OAA, Pathway Oregon, and you know that you're a Pathway Oregon student because that's also tied to your financial aid. TRIO Student Support Services, and so they are currently accepting applications. You do have to be first gen, low income, or a student with a disability. There's a Center for Multicultural Academic Excellence, and as part of this particular unit, there are also retention specialists around different racial identities. And then there's also advising, sometimes both academic and career together, or academic and career separated, but that also exist within the professional schools and colleges. And then in general, outside of the professional schools and colleges, you also have support by the University Career Center. And in terms of the academic advising piece, what we really do on that side of things is help you to explore your academic and career choices and ask and start to engage you in questions about, okay, you're thinking about potentially the health professions, right? There's the health professions program and there's advisors that can assist you with that. But then you might also be thinking about what major is best suited, because there's multiple majors that expand, for example, the health professions, right? Or let's say you're looking into, pre-law, and there's multiple majors that work for that, right? So just using those things as an example, we help you to explore. And then where we complement and work really closely with the Career Center, the University Career Center, which is also located in William Donald Tyson Hall in the garden level of the building, is implementation of those career choices. And so what the Career Center really focuses more on is the actual kind of output in terms of your LinkedIn profile and setting that up, and best practices for engaging and using LinkedIn. Resume and cover letter, both setting those up for the first time and or editing those documents and getting feedback about your documents. And then they host different career fairs and bring different employers to campus for mock interviews, or what's also called informational interviews. And so when you are seeking out information about a particular industry or job type. And speaking of the University Career Center, if you are looking for a part-time position or an on-campus or work-study position, there is a part-time job fair on October 6th. So this is within the second week of classes, and that is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it will be virtual as well. And then concern number 3, my major will determine my future career. And actually, I want to tell a little bit of a personal story about this. So I was not in exploring major in undergrad. My major was what I went to my master's program for was something different than what I went to undergrad for. So my undergraduate degree is in social work and sociology. Initially, I knew very clearly that I wanted to major in social work. And where I came up with that idea and where I found passion for the social services and social sciences is because I was in foster care. And as a result of my experience in foster care, I wanted to give back and serve communities that had similar experiences. And so social work was my trajectory. And then when I got to my university, I went to Seattle University in Seattle, Washington, which is where I'm from. Quickly realized that I have a lot of empathy, and social work, I will always use those skills, but I was going to burn out very quickly. And so because of that, did a little bit of change in my trajectory and did a master's in education with an emphasis on college student development. And what really influenced that for me was my undergraduate experience and working with students. And so I want you to understand, as part of the major exploration process, you might go through multiple cycles of what your career goals and where you see yourself at or becoming. There's going to be multiple cycles of that. And part of that can be changed by so many things. The economy. So for example, our parents and the way that they used to be able to work and stay in one industry is not necessarily the way that our economy functions now, right? So that's a component. Thinking about certain life experiences you've had, that's definitely a component. So just wanted to share a little bit about my own experience and kind of figuring out what I wanted to be. And I'll say, I'm 35 and I'm still figuring out what I want to be. So, majors and career paths. So one of the things that's really important for you to know is that few majors correspond directly with a specific career pathway. And just because you get a major in a specific field doesn't mean that you'll end up doing the work in that field. And so one of the things that's really important to us from, so us meaning, university personnel, advisors, et cetera, from a research standpoint, one of the things that's really important that we stay on top of in order to best serve students is what the different literature is telling us. So one of the professional organizations that is part of kind of the career services, career advising realm is NACE. And so NACE stands for the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And each year, NACE puts out a job outlook where they survey thousands of employers across various industries to talk about the top skills that they are looking for from university graduates. And so the top proficiencies that employers care about in terms of the job outlook for 2019, so this is, last year, very recent, are critical thinking and problem solving. Can you think on your own? Can you think independently? If your supervisor gives you some kind of directive and says, solve this problem, can you come up with some ideas and some strategies to solve that problem, right? And so when you meet with your supervisor in the next meeting, you've brainstormed some things. That's important to employers. Teamwork and or collaboration. Can you work well with others? Can you play nice? Can you get along? If you are working in a team, are you going to do your part? Professionalism and work ethic. Oral and written communication, again, can you speak? And then the written communication part, can you write well? And can you communicate clearly your ideas? Understanding how to use the various technology that's available and that exists within that particular job or functional area or field of work. Do you have leadership capacity? Can you lead an initiative, right? Career management, and then lastly, global/multicultural fluency. You'll notice you don't see any specific majors listed there. It's not about the majors. It is about what's called kind of the soft skills. And so those human skills to be able to be in and navigate a workplace. It is not specific to a specific major. And so next step, and we're gonna do some Q&A, so don't worry. I wanna share with you some action steps for you to start exploring. And we might also engage in some conversation about this as well. First and foremost, if you are one of those people that have not I mean, I'm sure everybody on some level has connected with advising because you had to gain access to register for classes. But get in contact with and remain in contact. So the really key thing here is remain in contact and connected with your academic advisor or advising unit and the University Career Center. This is how you really start to flush out and figure out, like, this is what I want to do. And sometimes too, if you don't know what you want to do, this is where it's helpful for other people to be along this journey with you. Because, for example, I supervise 7 academic and career advisors. And some of the conversations that I've had lately really have been around their own career development and where they see themselves growing. And so, you know, I had a conversation with one of my team and they said to me, you know, I don't feel like I've been contributing this year. And I said, really? Because I can point out this and this and that. And, you know, that affirmation that people see you as you are and see your talents and gifts and strengths is important because sometimes we can't see that for ourselves. So stay in contact with advising or get in contact with advising so that we can help you to build upon some of the things you already know are there, but really to help pull that out. Review the UO admissions website and UO catalog for more information about majors and minors at UO. So there is the admissions website, admissions.uoregon.edu/majors, and also the university course catalog. And so that gets updated every academic year. And it has a full list of all the majors and minors, and as well as the attached degree types, because some majors are specific to certain degree types, like Bachelor's of Arts only. And then also you can review co-curricular opportunities to engage in workshop series, to get involved with a club or an organization, to start a club or organization, etc. And then some action steps, again, continuing on looking at some of the experiential learning opportunities that are available to you as a college student that I definitely recommend that you take advantage of. So whenever we're out of COVID-19 and can actually study abroad is one. And actually our U Oregon workshop session on Monday, we'll talk about global education. And so I would definitely encourage you to tune into that. And that information is on our U Oregon webpage.
Brett, I'm going to pop in just real quick and say one thing that they are going to talk about on Monday in regards to study abroad is they have a lot of virtual homestays and no passport needed experiences. So even while we're in COVID-19, there still are opportunities to get that global experience. Absolutely.
And thanks for jumping in, Chris. Internships. So again, I want to put in that plug for that part-time virtual job fair on October 6th, because there will be internship opportunities that are a part of that. And if you have not accessed or looked at Handshake yet through the University Career Center, I would definitely encourage you to do that because you'll start to see different jobs and internship opportunities that are available to you. I would also encourage you in terms of internships, you can also look at departmental websites that you might be interested in or of majors that you're interested in, for example, and start to see what are some of the internships and or job opportunities that are attached with that. Of course, undergraduate research. And actually, as one of the U Oregon sessions that happened earlier this week, there was a session about undergraduate research. And so again, I would encourage you to go back to our U Oregon website and review that recording for the undergraduate research if you were not in it and or you want to see that. Involvement in leadership and student clubs and organizations. So again, I shared a little bit about my experience. I was a student leader. I was a resident assistant. And one, not only did that help me pay for college and stay housed, but it also really changed the trajectory of my career. And doing that position and really finding my love for students solidified that I wanted to work in higher education. Volunteer opportunities, of course. Minor declaration. So sometimes students start off, and I've seen this before, students will actually declare a minor before they will declare a major. And sometimes a minor can lead to different pathways in terms of supplementing a major requirement. And so helping students to make that decision and discern what they would like to add for a major or double majors. And then lastly, university events and speaker series. So these are events that happen across campus, across academic disciplines. You might go to a speaker series and be charged up by something that they are talking about. And it might really help to inform, this is really interesting. I really am thinking about this. I can say that I have been to a couple of speaker series on campus that have really solidified for me that I need to get a doctorate degree because I like doing research. So again, just want to reiterate some resources that exist for you. You have a team of advisors in multiple places, and sometimes depending on your student situation, like around finances or what have you, you might actually have access to more than one advisor, right? So for example, if you're a Pathway Oregon student, you have the Pathway team of support, but later on, and as you are going through this exploration process, you will also have a team of advisors connected to whatever your major and or minors end up being. So you have multiple advisors that can help you explore across campus. And using a flight pass, that can also help to give you a framework of where to start if you don't know where to start. And then lastly, while yes, in some respects, you're kind of choosing a major to kind of figure out a career, your career interests will change over time. And that is perfectly fine and normal. And so be comfortable in the knowledge that, again, you are not the only person that is exploring, and that if your career interests evolve, that is perfectly fine. So, any questions regarding major exploration or just any general advising related questions?
Just a reminder, students are welcome to submit questions using the chat. Beretta, thank you so much for your we're going to still do question and answers, but I just want to jump in and say thank you. As another advisor on campus, I really appreciate hearing other advisors' perspectives and how we talk about this on campus. It helps me learn and do better in my job. Just to bump a couple of the points you made as far as the importance of skills over major, those skills are super valuable. That's what you leave the university with beyond just a piece of paper. When you graduate and you say you're a duck, it means you've got a toolbox of those skills that you're ready to hit the ground running no matter where you go. I hire peer advisors in our office, and I can tell them how to look on the catalog and what starter classes you need. It's really easy to share that information with them, but it's a lot harder to train skills, like you said, in empathy, in problem solving and teamwork. And so having those skill sets and those experiences are really valuable. And that's some of the big chunks that you take away from your time at U of O. I also wanted to mention, kind of like you were saying, there's a lot of exploration. Those action steps that you shared, Beretta, weren't just about exploring majors, but those conversations you're having with the advisors and putting yourselves in those situations, those were also helping you learn about yourself and your own interests. I actually was never an exploring major, but I changed my major a lot. I was always declared and changed what my declared major was when I was an undergrad. So I had my own exploration process, even if it was called something different, or I thought it was called something different. Beretta, I know you have a couple questions in mind. We can definitely jump into those. Actually, I have, well, let's, if it's okay, we can jump into your questions and then we'll take some additional questions.
Okay, awesome. So there's two things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on. So the question related to, can I graduate as an exploring major? And so again, I keep putting that in parentheses because exploring isn't an official major. And so per university policy and based on your student classification in terms of how you entered into the university, there is a deadline in which you have to declare a major. And I want to be clear here. When we say that there's a deadline, it's not that you will be kicked out if you haven't declared a major. It's more of that you'll be asked to kind of continuously meet with advising until you formally declare a major so that we can continue to support you, because we do want to maximize your time here and make sure that you are not wasting your time, financial resources, etc., as you're still exploring your major options. So if you're starting at UO as a first-year student, you have to declare a major by the 4th week of your 6th term. So what that means is, let's say, fall 2020, that starts on Tuesday. And let's say it's fall 2020 and I am a first year or a freshman student. So that would mean by the 6th term that I would have to declare my major by my spring term of my sophomore year, assuming that I do fall, winter, spring my first year, and then fall, winter, spring my second year of classes. And then for transfer students, so students that began at UO as a transfer student have to declare by that same 4th week, but by your 3rd term. And the part of the reason why that there's less time for transfer students is because ideally transfer students will come in some respects, not ideally, because every transfer student is different, but transfer students will come in with a boatload more credits. And so depending on the different majors that a student might be interested in, some majors you do need to start sooner rather than later, and so that can push time out, hence why we have an earlier deadline for transfer students. So again, if I was a transfer student starting in fall 2020, I would have to declare by spring 2021, so by the end of my first year. And then the next question that came up is, when I applied to UO, I applied with a specific major in mind, and many students do that. But now I'd like to change my major to exploring, or I'm not clear on what I want to major on. How do I change my major? And so one of the ways that you can do this, particularly if you just joined us through Introduction over the summer, is you can connect with your advisor from Introduction, your advisor or advising team from Introduction, and they can assist you with dropping the major in their area and then being exploring. The other thing is you can also go to the academic advising website. So visit advising.uoregon.edu and scroll down to connect with an advisor to locate all of the advising units on campus. And there generally is some information about who those advising units serve. The professional schools and colleges are pretty self-explanatory in some respects, but in terms of some of our other advising units, there's information there about who those advisors serve, so that you can be rerouted or routed to the correct advisor. The other thing too is if you want to change your major from exploring to a specific major, the advising.uoregon.edu again is another resource for that as well. Is there any other questions? So we'll go back to the general Q&A.
Well, Bretta, I mean, we're talking about exploring, and that it's okay to explore, it's normal to explore. And at the very same time, I think there's a lot of conceptions about your major being a central piece of your academic experience. I mean, the reason that I'm mentioning, like, almost any kind of introductions that you do or icebreakers are going to start with, what's your name, what's your major? And so I just want to maybe open it up and maybe get your thoughts about, you already touched on it a little bit. I mean, you shared, for example, your undergraduate major provided you with a lot of skills, but it's a very different direction than you ended up going in your career. And your graduate studies were in a really different direction. So I just wanted to revisit that topic of, to what degree is your major your destiny? If you're choosing a major, are you deciding the rest of your life, or how doors stay open regardless of which major you choose?
Yeah, so for me, one of the things is I found that, and not to say that you were wrong per se, but say that
that's always a good start.
I feel like social work and sociology, in relation to working with people, having empathy for people, understanding how there are real systematic barriers that impact people's access to resources and success. and life outcomes, I felt like that was very applicable to education. And actually was a good foundation for me with the way, like, I feel that I'm an inclusive educator. And so that was an important foundation for me in my career and in my education. When I graduated undergrad with a social work degree and sociology degree, I initially worked at Safeway. I was a front end manager at Safeway. Because at that time I was making $14 an hour at Safeway, and jobs in my field were hiring for $12 an hour. The other thing that happened after that is I transitioned over into property management and did something, and granted, I did affordable housing property management. And so there were definitely a lot of things that social work and sociology equipped me to do in terms of advocating and working with my residents and supporting my residents. But I think with that, part of the reason that I was able to gain access to some of these areas is thinking about like my network, for example. So one of the things that you will hear about in like when you're talking to a career coach is kind of the hidden job market. And so basically what's happening there is with the hidden job market is that it's people getting hired by virtue of their connections. So they are networking. They are building relationships with faculty who say, hey, I have this colleague in this industry and you would be good for this type of work, right? So it's not just about accessing advising, it's about accessing and getting to know your faculty. It's about developing relationships with your peers. I hear a lot from students, and so I used to work in the Department of Cinema Studies. I hear a lot from those students in particular that talk about how their friend got a job on a film set and pulled them in. So it's not just about utilizing, campus resources, it's also about utilizing your network to be able to gain access into certain things and about getting those general skills that the employers are looking for. Because again, it's not specific to a specific major or field of study. It is about how do you show up? Can you be somebody in a work setting that is a team player, that knows how to communicate? So I think I answered your question, Chris. If I didn't, please let me know and I will.
There's a lot of directions that you can go, and you hit on one of my favorite points, which is when you leave here, hopefully you're going to leave here with more than just that piece of paper. You're going to leave with that whole skill set and perspectives and networks. There's one other question that was coming up there. Let me see. Are there some questions or things that would be helpful to reflect on in my first term before I meet with an advisor to discuss major exploration? So are there effective ways to prepare for an advising appointment?
Yeah, so I love that for a whole host of reasons. One, I will tell you, advisors love when you have some ideas of things that you're interested in, values that are important to you, and then also some kind of review of, the class schedule, for example. So one of the things that's really important to know is I love the way that we are consistent every term through the academic year, so fall, winter, and spring, in relation to registration. So the Friday of week 5 is when the schedule comes out across campus. And so it's the UO class schedule, and you can access that at classes.uoregon.edu. The Friday of week 5, and then the Monday starting week 8, and this is done by your class standing, is when registration starts for the next term. And so really important, we send out various emails throughout the term to say like, hey, these academic dates and deadlines are coming up, or hey, this particular event is coming up. We'd like for you to, know about this or potentially partake in that if that's something of interest. And so I think it's really just doing some of that personal work and keeping us abreast about that, right? And so sometimes I'll ask students, like, what are you interested in? What do you like doing? And students say, I don't know. You do know. You do know. And so I think just reflect on that a little bit because we want to help you, but we can't help you if you don't help us help you.
Definitely. Yeah, certainly you all, the students, are experts in yourselves more so than you know yourself better than we do. We know you. And so that's often a misconception I find about advising is it's not just simply schedule planning, but advising meetings can be a great space to have those conversations about
Mhm.
your goals and values and what drives you, what brings you to U of O. So there's a lot that can happen inside of an advising appointment, and we hopefully mostly our advisors are ready to dive into those conversations with you, and but as team members, because like I said, you know yourself better than we do, but we can help have some of those conversations to peel back those layers.
And what I'll also add to that is that we're not, yes, we are our titles, our academic advisor or academic and career advisor or academic advisor and retention specialist, etc. But we also are here because we want to get to know and we're invested in your success. So it's not just about, yes, plan classes, but we also want to know when things are good for you. We also want to know when things are bad for you so that we can help you navigate whatever these issues are, access either University of Oregon resources or external resources, or get you to counseling, etc. So don't just think that it's about the planning piece that we are here for. We really want to get to know and invest in you and engage with you as people, not just as students.
Well, on that note, I think that's a great note to end on, and an invitation
Yeah.
to please connect with some of the resources that Bretta mentioned. Connect with your advisor. We'll be posting a recording of this event on the UOregon site, and so please feel free to check out some of the resources listed there as well. Bretta works in Tyson College and Career Advising. You're welcome to get in touch with her or her colleagues there. Like Bretta mentioned, there's a variety of flight paths, a variety of specialists who can help you navigate the different major options there. I work in the Office of Academic Advising. We're more of a general exploring office too. We'd also be happy to touch base with you if you're exploring major options, and maybe even a flight path is something that we are still trying to work on. So with that, that's our presentation for today. Thank you again, Beretta, for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. And we do, like Beretta mentioned, we have on Monday another session at 3 o'clock with our Global Engagement Office to talk about what global experiences can look like for you during your 4 years at U of